Hey everybody, I'm Todd and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel and welcome to my life. We're back on the figure 8 build right now, but before we get back into this, I finally hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. Ben, if you're watching this, brother, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all your help. All you guys at Crimson. Talitha, Tom, Ricky, Steven, Sean, all you guys, thank you so much for all your help. I am forever in your debt. I just finished up my last 2-week session of my great guitar build-off project, which I'm calling the Cloud 9 build. And I've made pretty good progress on it. Now it's time to jump back on the figure 8 build and to get some more work done on this guitar. So here's our body blank. And if you'll notice, I've redrawn the upper part of this guitar. It was a single cutaway that met over in here. You can probably still see that line. If you guys will notice, I've made those come to a point, then it goes round. I do not want these to look like a Strat. I'm thinking it's time for us just to go to the bandsaw with this thing. I don't know what else I could do on this build that would require me to leave it whole like this. You know, you can kind of see now why I'm liking this 2-week scenario deal I got going on. 2 weeks on the Cloud 9 build for the great guitar build off, bounce back over to this build for 2 weeks. It's still fresh in my mind, and I'm kind of following the process on each guitar. So I just got through doing these very same things to the Cloud 9 build. In my last GGBO video, we cut the shape of the body out and got some routing done on that body that I needed to have the shape cut out to do. The control cavity was one of the main things. That's what we're about to get done on this guitar. That's kind of growing on me, honestly. We'll see what it looks like once we get it cut out. Got our body cut out. We're going to take it now and go to the spindle sander and clean up all this saw mark mess around the outside edge here. Let's get this going. Let's just keep working. We got a 3-inch drum on the spindle sander. 80 grit paper. This is really going to be a beautiful guitar. I can't wait. I'm just going to take this little sanding pad right here that I've got. Just want to sand this area right in here. It does not have to be completely perfect. I'm going to do some type of sound hole through this guitar, and I don't want to be able to see any scratches down through there. Now I'm going to take my files and I just want to rasp this out nice and smooth and get those carving marks out of there. I am so excited about reaching 1,000 subscribers. I really appreciate that, you guys. And all my builder brothers out there, you know, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. The Great Guitar Build Off has really done something really cool for people like us. It's given us a built-in platform to build a community around. And I find that just refreshing, you know. I'm happy to be alive, you guys. I really am. I don't really want to remove any more material out of this area because I've got a good 13 or 14 millimeter thick base down here on the bottom of this guitar that I want to maintain for structural purposes when the guitar comes up to tune and it puts the whole body and the neck joint and all that stuff under tension. I want that 13 or 14 millimeter of bottom depth for strength purposes. So I wouldn't want to go much thinner than this. At this point, what I want to do, even though we're not going to glue it up yet, I want to lay this top face down, and we'll need to fit this again. Let's put this neck in here, and let's fit this down on here. We'll take our mallet. Look at that top, you guys. That is just sick. I mean, that is so beautiful. What I'm going to do is clamp this top to this body. Now I'm going to flip this body upside down. Make sure I don't move anything. We feel nice and even up against the neck pocket right there. I'm going to do exactly what I did when I made that bridge template for the Cloud 9 build. I'm going to take a washer. This looks like probably an M6 washer. And I'm going to let my pencil ride down inside that washer. And I'm going to outline this. There we go. So we'll pop these clamps off now. And what that will do for me is make an outline of my body on that top set that is, you know, enlarged by the same width as this washer is, or one side of this washer is, which looks to be about 3/16 or 1/4 of an inch. So that's a really handy way to enlarge something that you know you're going to have to cut flush with the side eventually. We're going to cut this top set. My battery's running low on the camera, so I'll just let it play out, and then when I crank back up, I'll have this top set cut. I won't go any further than that, so you guys hang loose. We need to carry this over to the drill press, get this area hogged out just like we did on the Cloud 9 build, start thinking about making our covers for this thing, and then we can move forward doing a little bit more work to the neck. You guys just saw me do this process on the Cloud 9 build, so it's probably still pretty familiar to you. All right, let's fire this up and get after it. All right, so there's the start of our cavity. We got a little cleanup work to do with the chisels. Let's get that done. This should go pretty easy. We're going to use the same cavity template that we used on the Cloud 9 build. So what I'll do is super glue masking tape this piece down to the body, just like that with that outline. Then we'll slide this down in here like this. We'll route that inside shape first. I'll pull this template out. We'll route the shelf. Let me get this set up. I'll come right back. We'll get this cavity routed. All right, you guys, let's shift over this way and let's get this cover plate routed real quick. Very slowly. Careful on the end grain. Curly walnut, beautiful. When I put some oil on this, there'll be nice contrast between these two woods, and that'll be beautiful. I am thrilled with what we've been able to get done tonight. My cavity turned out pretty much perfect. I love that. This body, at this point, is pretty much ready to have the top glued on. I need to think about what I want to do to this neck. I want to get this volute worked out to where it's not jagged like it is now. It does not have to be finished completely, but I absolutely want to get rid of that wood. I want to thickness this neck down to its final dimensions. About 21 millimeters thick down at the first fret, about 23 millimeters thick at the 12th fret. I want to carve a little bit more of this material away now that I know where this is going to sit on the body. So everything's going to come up to where that line's at right there. And then we'll start to carve all this stuff in with the shape of the body at that point. That will happen after this neck's glued in though. We'll do a little preview of the shape and how the neck's looking, you know, in the pocket. I'm really happy with this, and I think you guys will be too once I do the treatment I'm thinking about doing on these horns. I spent all night last night editing on this video. I also did some thinking about how far I want to get this guitar before we wrap this video up. So I've been saying all along that I want to get this neck dimension down. I'd like to get the top glued on, get the neck glued into the body. I'm not going to do all that before the end of this video. Let's concentrate on getting this neck dimensioned to where it needs to be. Right now what I want to do is shave some thickness off of this neck. I need to measure this thing before we go any further. All right, we're at 30.19 millimeters at the 12th fret. We're at 29.3 millimeters at the 2nd fret. So I've got, you know, 8-9 millimeters we need to take off of this thing. That's quite a bit of material. And you know, I would normally start with my neck a little closer to those dimensions than this one is, but I didn't want to take too much thickness off this neck to start with because I didn't know which way I was going to go with it. So it's not that big of a deal. Let's concentrate down in this area first. I want to start to shape this and pull some of this material off so we can start working on that shape that goes up into our volute. We'll go for about 22 millimeters thick right here. And I can kind of gauge how far down I am using my pieces of veneer as a guide. The Shinto makes quick work of this kind of stuff, you guys. Let's make a couple of marks down here at fret number 12. And I want to be about 23 finished. I'll keep moving back and forth so we shave this gap a little bit wider than the Shinto is so it doesn't bind us up. We're going to start by removing all this material in here. And as I go down through here making these cuts, I'm watching the outside of that cut line to see how far away I am from this veneer, this Wingate veneer I got in here, trying to keep that level. And doing this on a laminate neck is so much more simple, you guys, because you've got veneer pieces and different colors of wood to act as a guide to tell you when you're flat. All right, we're good. We're nice and flat. We'll go ahead and carry this flat area up to where we've got this cut at so far. So let's go ahead and get that ground away. All right, now I appear to be pretty even all the way down. I don't see any gaps in my veneer glue up. Everything looks nice. And we've already got facets cut on the side of this neck that we can use to follow. I'm going to jerk out the Iwasaki fine cut, and we're going to clean these bevels up, or these facets. And I know I say this every time, but you can feel and hear when the Iwasaki gets the surface that you're working on flat. On this particular guitar, because I know the Doc's got really long fingers, I want to be able to feel this part of his hand up with the neck. That way his fingers are free to do their thing, you know, riding down the back of the neck. I want this to be as far back as it can be and still be comfortable. So I'm going for a round back profile, or a deep C is what I'm calling it anyway. Somebody else may have a proper name for it. I want to keep this facet right here, the one up against the fretboard, I want it to be as steep as I can so I can preserve that curve over. If I rake it back too far this way, we're going to wind up with a D profile. And I don't want a D profile. I want to keep that angle steep. You can watch this line, this bottom fretboard line of the facet that you're cutting that we're working on now. You can watch it, and you want to create a level space that you're leaving all the way down the side of this neck. I like to shoot for about 2.5 millimeters left. We'll round the rest of that over with way finer cutting tools in the end, and we'll use sandpaper as well to help us get that profile. So just watch that line. I'm not worried about this. It's growing, that space is growing down here on the end. But we're going to work on all this once we get these facets cut and finalized. We're going to work on this transition between the volute and the neck profile. We'll do the same thing down here. So concentrate on where your cut lines are. This line right here that we've cut in with the shin toe, this line back here before we reach the volute. That's the area of the neck that you're wanting to keep even down the side of the fretboard. That will assure you that you've got a straight facet. Let these two fingers keep you flat on the board. This hand is a guide, and that's actually what controls your cutting motion and the angle that you're holding it will sock you at. So if I turn it this way, I'm going to remove a bunch of material, or more material at least. If I turn it this way and drag it down the side like this, it shaves little shavings off instead of creating dust. You can see it cuts these little strings like that. All right, we're good. Now, I want to come about halfway in between those two facet lines we just cut. The edge of this facet to our center line is about 14 millimeters. So we'll come to the edge of this veneer line. And you know what? I'm not going to do that. We're going to take it out a little further. And this is where the deep C profile comes into play. So I won't use even a measurement because I know the measurement now is right at 14 millimeters. I'm going to come a little bit further out to right in there, and we'll stay off this veneer line. I'll make that part of the next facet, and that's going to steepen up this angle a little bit and start establishing that angle right off the bat so we don't have a problem getting it back in. Our next facet, we want to be halfway in between those two lines we just created by cutting this facet, and all you're doing is creating flats all the way around the neck. Each one's getting half as wide every facet you cut up the neck this way. That's creating that round back shape that we're after. We're starting to get to a point where we've got 3 well-defined facets coming up this side of the neck. And what's going to happen eventually is we're going to cut all these points off of these facets. That will leave us with a nice, comfortable round shape. All right, one more should get us where we need to be. And what we want to do now is halfway in between that one, which is basically our wing A veneer line, to our center line. I've got a tendency to carve a D shape, whether I mean to or not. And the secret to that is making sure you've got plenty of fall away from your center line instead of leaving yourself a flat on the back of the neck. You want a nice, solid, round shape. I love a D-shaped neck. It's my preferred neck, but this is not my guitar. And I thought I'd show you guys my favorite tools for shaping a neck, getting a volute carved in, as far as files and rasps go. This is the Shinto. This is a new one with the red rubber grip handle on it. I actually like it a little bit better than the wooden handle. It's easier to grab. 20 bucks on Amazon. One of the best tools you can ever have as far as shaping a neck or a body for that matter. The Shinto is great. This is a Volute or a habilis Swiss made zero cut half round file right here. It's bigger than a needle file but smaller than a full-size file. I don't know what they call these, but there's a name for it. These in-between files. This is an absolutely killer finished tool right here. $16 on eBay is what I paid for this thing. This is a karate wood rasp. This is a hand-stitched wood rasp from Italy. C-O-R-R-A-D-I. Karate. Very killer tool. I love this thing. I got this from LeeValleyTools.com. $18.99 I think is what I paid for this one. All the rest of these tools, with the exception of this file right here, came from LeeValleyTools.com. This is a fine cut 10-inch Iwasaki. I added a wooden handle to it. They don't come with handles, but I ordered a 6-pack of these handles from Lee Valley, and that was an absolutely killer addition for like 13 bucks for 6 of these wooden handles. This file I think was $27.50. This is a medium cut half round Iwasaki. All the flat Iwasakis are double-sided, all the half rounds are singles. This is an extra fine cut 8-inch Iwasaki. I think this one was $22.50 on Lee Valley Tools. This half round one was $34.50. This is a fine cut 3/8 inch wide half round Iwasaki. This was $22.50. This is a fine cut 3/8 inch wide standard or rectangle Iwasaki. This was $20.50 I think. These are my favorite neck shaping tools ever. These and the Shinto. I want to work on this volute area back here, so let's zoom in on that. The back of my fretboard, or the start of my fretboard back here, is directly in line with the point on my volute. This volute is way too pronounced right now. I left it that way on purpose so I'd have some carving room when I go to take the thickness down off of this thing and blend this into the rest of my neck. That's what we're going to do right now. So I'm going to take this karate wood rasp right here, and we're just going to work on this thing. I want to bring this taper, I want it to come a little bit closer to here, which is going to seem a little bit steep at first, but once we drop some of the height off of this volute, that will become less pronounced. I don't want to cut the height off first because I'll lose my reference as far as to where I'm at over the start of my fretboard on the other side. Now I could easily mark a line on it, but all the sanding and filing we got to do to this thing, it would be hard to keep a line drawn. So I want to keep that point on that volute until I've got this shape down into the neck profile like I want it. And I want to stay off my neck profile as much as I can. We can go back to a little bit heavier of a cut, and I'll start to back the shape of the volute up, and we'll bring it back to a point. What that's going to do is move the whole thing back a little. I have to go to the fine cut. I'm going to knock the points off of these facets real quick. We're going to sand this fretboard up to about 3000 grit. I'm going to use the Iwasaki for this. I'm not going back to the Shinto at this point. And I kind of like to do this part by feel. I've got the, the general shape that I want. So now I just kind of want to start rolling this thing over. We'll let sandpaper take care of the rest of this. The sides of the fretboard, I'm not going to roll those over yet. We'll wait till it's glued to the guitar. And I don't want to go too much further than this. You could play this neck right now, no doubt. I love it. It's beautiful. The myrtle is just absolutely stunning. 5-piece unless you count the veneer. If you count the veneer, it's a 9-piece hard maple, 2 pieces of Oregon myrtle wood, and then a strip of Bolivian rosewood or Murado. Up the middle, I got wingay veneer separating the maple and the myrtle, and I've got light anagray veneer separating the Bolivian rosewood and the myrtle. I'll get some finish put on this thing once we get it sanded and finish shaping it. Once it's glued to the body, this thing's going to catch on fire. It's beautiful. That myrtle's got a real depth to it. It's got a silvery hue in the background, but it's nice and figured. It looks a lot like black limba in my opinion. So let's sand a little on this fretboard. This is a sheet of 260 grit, but it's used. And this is Super Acelix from Eagle Abrasives. I want to make sure I got all those marks out that it could have left when we clamped it to the caul. I'm moving away from a hard flat sanding block and moving to a soft flexible sanding block with a sheet of Super Acelix 360 grit on this block. We're going to hit it just long enough to get rid of those 240 scratches, which should not take very long. That looks really good. Now, I'm just going to take some sandpaper and wrap it around this block. We'll start at 1,000 grit. And it's a new sheet. It should make quick work of those 360 scratches. The Eagle Acelix paper is really nice and leaves a uniform scratch pattern. So it will not take this 1,000 grit very long at all. We're going to go to 2,000 grit, and some guys like to go 1,200, 1,500. You know, I find that if you're using new sandpaper on a really hard wood, you can move straight from 1,000 to 2,000. Because once you get it past 1,000 grit, I don't know that you could really call that sanding anymore. It's more or less polishing. We got a nice shine. A really nice reflection coming off of that fretboard already, and you can see how beautiful that is. We're going to move straight from 2,000 to 3,000, and this is 3,000 grit, so it's absolutely not removing any material. I don't want to put any type of finish on this fretboard until we get the frets put in. We won't actually glue the frets in, but I do fill the void beneath the frets with wood glue. Sanded to 3,000 grit. Beautiful. Just so we can get a nice look at this and find out exactly what it's going to look like, this will also highlight any problem areas that we may have. I'm going to wipe this thing down with naphtha. We're just going to take a paper towel, a nice white heavy-duty paper towel. Fold it up as a tool. Squirt a little naphtha on this paper towel. We'll wipe this fretboard down. Oh my. There we go, you guys. I am so happy with this thing. Oh, we're dead flat, you guys. I could not be happier with this. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this video up right here. We didn't get quite as far as I wanted to, but we got far enough, I think. In the next video, we're going to work out this headstock first off. I'm going to figure out if I'm going to put a veneer on here or if I'm going to try this other idea that I'm thinking about doing. I think I'm going that way, and I think it'll be pretty interesting if I can get that pulled off. We're going to put frets in this neck. We're going to glue it to the body. I'm going to do a little bit more work to the exterior perimeter of this body. We'll make sure everything's nice and tight like it should be before we glue the neck in. Once we get this neck glued in, I'm going to have some drying time that I got to let this guitar sit here for a while. I'm going to show you guys where I'm at on the 7 of 9 build in the next video. I'll try to get a little bit more work done on it before that point. One more video in this 2-week cycle of the figure 8 build. By the end of that video, I want the top glued to this body. I want the neck fretted. We'll finish shaping the neck. We'll work this shape out back in here. and we'll get the top glued to this body. We may not get the bevels done in the next 2-week cycle of the figure 8 build. And the reason I've actually decided to end this video here, I think it's going to be pretty cool if I show everything leading up to the finish on this guitar. And if I incorporate those things into the first video of the next 2-week cycle, I think that's going to make for a better video series than if I just end abruptly at random places. You know, I've got a plan for all this. I hope you guys are cool with that. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button to all you guys that have already. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date as to where I'm at on all these guitars and the plans I've got coming up in the future. I've got a bass build coming pretty soon. We've got another guitar giveaway that I'm starting October the 1st. So we got that to look forward to. Hit that like button. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see. And until the next video, you guys, peace and love.